Hello everyone, welcome back to the stream. Hope everyone is doing well. Let me know, let me just see if you all can hear me. And looks like you all can. Great. So let's just pull up the charts real quick. For some reason it's not picking up my browser, so let me just reset that real quick. And then we can be on our way. So how's everyone doing today? You probably see like some stream inception right now, but hold on. There you go. Cool. Alright. Let me just bring up TradingView. Cool, thank you. Tom, I will go over AVE and CRV after Bitcoin and Ethereum. I did take a quick look just before coming onto the stream, and it doesn't look like the weekend did much of anything, so I would probably stand by that most of our targets, or most of our TA from Friday, will still hold. However, we will look at this extremely little range that Bitcoin has formed, and then we can get a bit of a more bias off of that. How have your all trades been? Have you all been trading this range, or have you been just sitting this out? I'm curious. Or are you just holding like longer swing positions? Okay. There you go. It's loading. I apologize. Okay. So taking a look at the Bitcoin chart, what we were saying last week, coming into last week, was that most likely we are not going to continue to the upside. We will take a look at this little range to see if that still holds that idea. Possibly we might break up to the upside slightly before anything else. But let's just take a look at, just previous TA and what we were looking at. We're looking at this swing failure pattern that printed over here, right, last week, invalidated by this wick right here. And we also got a retest of this point of control. We got a retest of this point of control as we flipped it to resistance. Now we're just retesting this value area low without much divergences forming. If you look at the 4 hour, the bigger value area low should be there. Yeah, and there are still no divergences for me. So really, I still believe that the idea that we break lower still remains. But let's just take a look at the actual smaller range that we have forming, and we can just take a look at that exactly. So this is the really tight range that we were talking about last week as well. Talking about how I think before we break down, there's a fairly good chance we come back above this value area high and fill in this low volume node, just like we did with this low volume node down here. Filled it to a T, then continued onward upward within this range. I do think we are still have the potential to come and fill this low volume node, then get to the downside. Also, in conjunction with that, we have the point of control slightly skewed to the value area low, I believe, just visually looking at it. Yes. Oh, that's actually, hold on. Just so you all can see it. So the point control is slightly skewed to the value area low. I mean that we are most likely going to break out of the value area high before we break below the value area low. Right, so the idea that we come up into this low volume node between 1950 19.5, 50, and 19.5 are still my targets for Bitcoin before anything else. Okay, so beyond that, let's just take a look at SPX. I do think that SPX could also show a bit of clue of that. SPX, we were also looking at just major continuation to the downside, essentially. That is playing out actually today. I guess when I was looking at the charts, I was looking a bit better today. I was waiting for this gap to fill this morning during the open, and I was going to say that might bring about a bounce for Bitcoin to that low volume node. But the SPX is looking extremely nasty. Not good at all, in my opinion. The only hope you have, and you're not even really forming, you could argue that at this point this is like hidden bull, but I wouldn't get too carried away with that. I would assume that you're just gonna keep the downtrend. So Bitcoin, I still think it come up to that low volume node before continuation to the downside, and then after that we got really nasty downside targets, which first to about 16,000. Let's look at the Bitcoin dominance chart just to see, just out of curiosity. Oh no, this is wrong. BTC.D. Did we get that retest of the point control again? This is he. Yes, so we did get a retest of that point control, rejection off of it. Really small term time frames. If we are going to treat this like a coin, right? We have this major fair value gap. We can actually just label it to be this right here, down here, meaning that there is a potential that we have a bit of a, and this does actually work fairly well for Bitcoin dominance, at least on like 4 hour and higher, like treating it as a coin. So, excuse me. I think you definitely have the potential of coming back into this fair value gap, along with pulling back into the 705 Fibonacci retracement right here at 39.75. And at that point, what does that indicate? That we're most likely going to have a bit of an altcoin rally while this occurs, or just maybe not necessary rally, just excuse me, just like disconnection between Bitcoin's price action and altcoin price action. So Bitcoin could just stay stable and altcoins dump. Most likely not at this point. I do think like if Bitcoin stays stable, then altcoins most likely have the opportunity to pump. Take a look at total 3 just for that. See if anything has changed with that. I'm just curious if anything at all. Yeah, no, we're still at this low. Not forming anything there. And the daily term time frame, not forming anything there. If we take our Fibonacci levels, you can see, yeah, we're definitely still holding this level here. So there is a potential, I think. There is definitely a potential, I think, that we can get another slight bounce off this level. Come up to here to fill this gap at bang 388 billion, which would indicate a small altcoin rally, but really small, and then major continuation and downside. Let's take a look at Ethereum. Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Then we'll look at Ethereum itself. Okay, so Ethereum versus Bitcoin, we're waiting for this fair value gap to get hit. Came into it, didn't fill it completely, so we would expect it to still continue to the downside a little bit. Smaller time frames, just continuing the trend. Lower high and lower lows. So you also got hidden bear at this point, right? You formed a higher high on the RSI, or the TI in this case, and a lower low or sorry, a lower high on price action. So you have hidden bearish divergence. The first point for hidden bear would be the 618, but with hidden, I do actually expect pretty significant continuation with hidden divergences. At least in my experience, I see that hidden divergences play out in terms of like breaking lows more often than regular divergences. So I would expect still continuation down to here. Let's see what Ethereum looks like. To see if there's anything. Yeah, Ethereum essentially just looks like Bitcoin, continuing to range. Retested this value area low. I don't know if we went over that this last week, so that's all good to go. And then we could take a volume profile right there. 1 hour time frame, just to get a bit of a bias if you're gonna break upside or downside. We actually do have heavy skew on the point control, heavily skewed towards the value high compared to the value low, meaning that we're most likely going to break below the value area low before any continuation upside, which is conjunction with the way we were just looking at the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation building bearish divergence. So what do I expect a pullback at that point? If you are going to stay range bound, which I definitely think is quite possible at this point, I would look for a pullback to the 786 right here. You do have a tiny high value node right there. So 1247, where I look for this small pullback to occur. If you're going to stay range bound. If you're not going to stay range bound because the daily is not looking too great, things get real nasty, and you're essentially just looking at this previous low. You do have fair value gaps along the way, which you might get a small bounce into, but I wouldn't expect all too much. I would essentially, the only thing I would really put weight on within this range before you break out of it is this high volume node right here. Hopefully I have this labeled. Between 11, 12, and roughly 1075. So that's where I would look for a potential bounce on this breakdown before any major continuation. Cool. All right, now let's take a look at AVE. So AVE, pretty much the same thing as every other coin. We are still waiting for a pullback into first this fair value gap plus the Fibonacci levels of the 705, specifically at the top at $89. So we're still waiting for that. We've been range bound all weekend, and then this idea that we would break below this market structure break line, and then get a pullback into the bearish order block. Previous bearish order block is what we're still waiting on to occur, which is more of a long-term idea. I think you can definitely argue that, which, you know, it is in conjunction with the fact that Bitcoin dominance is mostly going to turn down a little bit, plus total 3 looks like you might get a little bounce. So a little bounce on these altcoins up into this fair value gap at the very least is what I still expect. Ooh, okay. Taking a look at the really small range that we've had formed. Bang, bang. There's no noticeable heavy skew, so I wouldn't put too much weight on that. to be quite honest. If you're building any divergences, then I would give a target specifically. No, you didn't really build any divergences there. Really small term time frames, just so I can maybe form an opinion on this. Oh, I am on the 50-minute. Okay. You didn't build bear. To me, you're most likely just gonna pull back to the 618, and then most likely continue to trend upward, is what I would expect at that point. So probably 74.55, and then look for a pullback, at least to a retest of this market structure line again. Where do things get? Where do we flip things? We can even come smaller time frames. If you want to be more aggressive, like I'm using the 5-minute chart, then this small little uptrend that we have going on in AVE gets invalidated with any closures below 74.55. At that point, you look for a pullback into this region. If, for example, if we just break down right here, not saying we will, just if, where would that like bear short block be? I would say probably actually just right here. So 75.40 and 75.25. So if this does actually break down, then look for a pullback up into this candle, then continuation to the downside. But until then, until that break, I would just look for obviously closure basis as well. The 618 also lines up with that perfectly as well. So just a retest of this level. If the level holds, continuation. Level breaks, then you flip market structure and hold the time frames. Hello. Okay, CRV, then we have other requests. So CRV, it looks like we filled this fairly gap, but broke below it. Let's just see what the volume profile now looks like. Came and retested this value area low. Now we're just waiting to see if anything is going to form out of this, or if we're going to break down. We did have bullish divergence coming into this low right here, so we would expect at least the first pullback to the 618 after this low, which is still yet to get at 99 cents, and then we would look for a flip of that level and then continuation to the upside. So something along the lines of this, right? Or sorry, we can get rid of that. Something along the lines of, let me just draw it out, it's a bit easier. Come up to a level, reject, flip it, and then continuation to the upside. Something along the lines of that is what we look for. So still targets have yet to be played out. Really small term time frames, just to check. I would consider this to be within the range because it is just a swing fed pattern. You do have the point control heavily skewed to the upside, so there is a potential of a breakdown. At least a break below the value area low before any continuation, at which point I would say you're most likely just going to come down and retest this wick at the 786 at 86.7 before anything else. You're not building, you actually did build bullish divergence there, and that played out nicely, came and retested these highs. But there's a potential of breaking down. Potential. I don't necessarily agree. Where it gives you more confirmation that you're going to break down at that point would be a closure below 5-minute if you want to be really aggressive, because they're just talking about small term time frames. 95. So 905 is what break below that on the 5-minute time frame most likely give you confirmation that you most likely continue to the downside and come break below that value area low. But until then, I still think that biases to the upside for now. Okay. Rune. Let's do it. Rune. Came into this low volume node, broke below it, come back and retest these wicks. Not looking the best, to be completely honest. Looking like it most likely going to break down out of this. Targets below get real nasty. I mean, I need to kind of go to the chart. I think. Oh, okay. So these are the levels that we've had marked out. I guess. Looks like a shitcoin, honestly. I don't think you're gonna get much of a bounce. We can look at Rune BTC. Just to see where you are gonna get a bounce. I don't... you do have the potential right here. So what I would encourage you, if you are gonna trade this coin on the bit of the macro scale, I would wait to fill this right here. So, like, basically just trade the Bitcoin chart, the Rune versus Bitcoin chart, rather than the Rune chart. If you're looking for like more macro plays, I do think you're gonna break down, maybe even today. Like that looks real nasty. And then you're coming down with the. I can't give you many real USDT targets, but I can give you the Bitcoin evaluation targets of 668 and 571. Pull up Fibonacci levels. I don't even think that you're gonna really get much out of that either. Yeah, you've already broke all of those, so we want to take our that. You also have the point control at this point down below at 473. So. But coming into this fair value gap is actually low volume node, so I do expect at least a bit of a green week after this fair value gap fill. So that's what I would say for Rune. Link, and then we can check the DXY. Oh wait, one coin to check is not DXY, DYDX. Yes, I can do that. The derivative coin DYDX. Okay, coming down to the lower term time frames, something on the 4 hour. So daily, actually just go to the daily term time frame. Got a nice bounce off that point of control. Let's just see what has changed. Yeah, so we've developed a range. We're above the value high. It seems that we've retested it, obviously depending on the daily closure. Retested it as support right there. What I would note is a slight daily uptrend right here got validated, so I'll just mark this out real quickly by this line, clean this up a little bit, get rid of the fibs. So we did have this market structure break right here on the daily term time frame. So when you expect a pullback into, I would say the last significant move up, which is all the way up here. So I would be just caution of that, plus the 705 Fibonacci retracement. So I would put more emphasis on the 705 at this point. If you look at the 4 hour time frame, there should be something that lines up with that, like the last significant move up. Yeah, and there definitely is at least a bearish order block within this region. So I would look for a pullback. Just bearish into the 705 until any continuation, even if that continuation just happens to be back into this little range. I have targets up to 854 essentially. Smaller time frames though aren't looking too bad. You can argue that you've already broken market structure in the 1 hour time frame right here. You basically already pulled back into this bearish order block, and now you're just continuing the downtrend. So not looking the best, but also not looking the worst. So let's just take a look at Link versus Bitcoin, just to see if I think you're gonna break up out of this region or below out of this region first. Yeah, well, this isn't looking the best either, so I do actually think you're most likely going to break down out of this. Coming back to the actual Link chart, what targets would I give for that breakdown? Targets for this breakdown would be I don't know what's vibrating in the house right now. Would be 72.99. So 730 basically would be the first level of a bounce, and then after that would be this initial March structure break of $7. Flipping this, just major continuation to the downside. Looking at that point of control, daily point of control that we're just looking at. We're talking about the market structure line. Holding above it, that idea of coming back up to 850, I believe it was. Yeah, 854. Still holds. So as long as you stay above this line, 854 is still in the cards. But I think initially, first right now, you come down to 730 roughly. Cool. We can look at DYDX. Okay, DYDX definitely looks interesting. To me, this looks like a fair value gap fill plus a retest of this low 786. I wouldn't put too much weight on the 786 at this point, right? Yeah. Did you build divergence coming off of that bottom? No, you didn't. Okay. I do think you definitely have the potential of coming back to retest these highs. I do think you're just going to retest this 786. Unless you have divergence forming on the... Oh, God. I think we just checked the 4 hour yet. And that's just like so minute. Okay, so it did form on the daily, to be fair. So, so you will look for the 618 of this move right here to get hit first, which is in line with this fair value gap as well. You might get it pull back all the way, fill this gap. The gap I'm talking about is right here. Just fill it right here. So I would expect first and foremost a pullback into $1.46 before any continuation to the downside. But macro wise, this isn't looking the best, to be completely honest. I do think you're probably going to come up and then just have a pretty nasty pullback. You've already broken above your value area high with this heavy skew. Okay. Any other coins you guys want me to look at? I'll actually check that DXY. Cool, so the DXY is finally filling this large fair value gap. To be honest, I don't see it daily, maybe weekly closure. getting much higher than this. I mean, this is like a monthly level right here. So I think this will hopefully, I don't say hopefully, but I mean, will be the top and then get a rejection off. I believe this is in conjunction with the euro. Euro has like taken a big hit. But yeah, I don't see it getting more than this fair value gap. I see at least a significant pullback. I think we were looking at last week, like the 2008 fractal, where we could just come up and then dump it. Or maybe that was for gold. I'm not too sure. But whatever it was, I do think you definitely have a major pullback after this fair value gap fill. If you don't, and I'm wrong, then you come back to retest this high. After they retest this high, then targets get real high and get impressive / I don't know if that's concerning at that point. I guess if you live in America, it's not too bad for you. But if you live in other places, then it's not the best. Then you're essentially looking at the 620 of this whole macro move from 1985 to 2008, the bottom of 2008. So, but I don't think that's playing out. What I do think is playing out is, I think the fractal we were looking at was gold, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. Is just a rejection off of this, and then continuation at least a little bit to the downside. You also have this gap down here that has to be filled. Take a look at gold. Yep, so gold is coming down to our targets. Oh. Maybe this is done better than weekly, yeah. What's up? The 76. Plus this fair value gap, I labeled that wrong. This imbalance, actually, no, that's correct. This imbalance at 1585, so we should get a bit of a significant balance off that. Yeah, this was the fractal we were looking at. Not saying that is good, that was gonna play. I was just saying that like something along those lines. Like we have a pullback, make a lower low, something like this, and then continue the rally. So I do think that make like a double top, then boom, 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 pull back, and then continue the major trend upwards in conjunction with the falling DXY would make the most sense with everything lining up like this. Astrologists say we are dumping hard tomorrow. I think, weren't people saying that the 25th was going to be like the bad dump day? September 25th? But yeah, I do think things can, I don't think there's much hope for the upside for Bitcoin. I think you have that low volume node. This, of course, if you flip market structure, then all things change, and you flip market structure and you can continue the uptrend on whatever time frame that is. But we're talking about like the 1 hour, 4 hour. But until then, it's looking pretty bad. So maybe they are right. All right. Well, if that's all you guys have for me to look at, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Remember, links in the description below for our Discord server. It's completely free to join. A lot of good trades in there to learn from. Also, if you trade on Bybit and you want to save on some fees, 30% off all your fees, links in the description below. Also help support the channel. And that's all I really have for you guys. So I hope you'll have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you guys tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Bye, guys.